a full cup of toasted ground walnuts, and we just pulsed those in our food processor for less than a minute, because you want to try to avoid having it turn into a paste exactly, but if it does, it's no big deal. This incorporates very quickly. You want to be careful once you add the flour that you don't overwork it, because this is when gluten forms. One of the reasons that cookies and cakes are so forgiving is because of their high fat content. The fat prevents the long strands of gluten from forming easily because, well, fat is slippery and it helps prevent those long strands from grabbing onto each other and getting all tough. So for our walnut crescents, this one is a little bit trickier as far as shaping it and getting it into the oven, because we want to get a really particular look. Take it, roll it, and then roll it lengthwise. You want to get the edges, the ends, tapered. We set them down, and you just want to bring it around kind of like a croissant.
And that's what?
That's the basic shape you're going for.
Pretty much, yeah.
We've got cookies coming out. And if you are curious, you can flip one over, see how beautifully golden that is on the bottom. We'll let them rest a couple minutes and then we'll get them on a cooling rack. And we didn't discuss this, but the importance of the cooling rack is it allows airs to airs? Don't put on airs with me. It allows air to circulate all the way around the cookie.
One air. Yeah.
If you were just to put it on a regular plate, it would get soggy because moisture is going to condense down there. The next cookie we're going to make is the chocolate cookie, one that we were just commenting. We don't know what the shelf life of it is because they've never lasted long enough to go stale. We just love these. Now, what I wanted to show you is a really foolproof, no-brain method for melting chocolate. These are beautifully individually wrapped 1-ounce squares of unsweetened baker's chocolate. So I like, they've got this little cleavage in them. If you can break it. I'm so butch. It just helps it melt a little faster. Oh, screw it. I've got a bowl that is big enough that it fits down into my pot of water, but essential, very, very important, it does not touch the water at the bottom of the bowl. Now, I've got my 5 ounces of Baker's unsweetened chocolate here, and a stick, which is a half a cup of butter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set them over the water, which has already come to a boil. And we've got a really nice tight seal down here. Notice the water, I've got the heat on still. You don't want to do that. You want to turn the heat off. You want to cover the chocolate and just let it sit. You're going to come back to it in just a couple minutes and give it a stir. But you don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about the chocolate getting scalded or burned. You're just set because it will melt on its own. Margarine is evil.
Could you perhaps elaborate on that a little bit?
Margarine was invented when people couldn't get butter. Some people erroneously believe that margarine is better for you because it's made from unsaturated vegetable oil. Ha ha ha. Surprise! In order to make vegetable oil, which is liquid, solid at room temperature, you have to hydrogenate it, which is basically you've got these big molecules of fat and you add a bunch of hydrogen molecules to the edges of it. This makes it it's all sticky and stuff, and it makes it solid. It makes it a block, and it does that in your arteries, and it's worse than any other kind of solid fat. In fact, I mean, when they hydrogenate that vegetable oil, they make chemicals that you can't even pronounce. Okay? It's scary. That stuff is evil. And it tastes foul. Lest we forget that it tastes utterly foul.
It's awful.
Don't use margarine. If you don't listen to anything else that I ever tell you, don't use margarine. You got that?
Good work, good work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's look at our chocolate, shall we?
Oh, yes, yes, hurry up.
Okay. This has just been sitting over water that was boiling, and it's been there for just a couple minutes. And look, and part of what you're doing when stirring this is you're moving the heat around a little bit. And I can still feel that there are hard chunks of chocolate in here, but that's fine.
Let's talk for a moment about chocolate.
Chocolate has to have that fat in it. That is part of why chocolate tastes so good. The cocoa butter melts at just, I believe it's just below human body temperature. So when you put it on your tongue, it feels slightly cool. And that fat in the chocolate is going to have that flavor of the chocolate kind of coat your tongue and glide over your taste buds, and it's sensational. As long as we're here, let's have another look in the bowl, because I bet the chocolate is melted now. It is still melting, and I can feel it. I mean, it is so close to being liquid. And this way, since there's no heat underneath it except that water that was boiling, but we turned it off as soon as we put the chocolate on, you don't have to worry about the chocolate getting scalded. And, you know, that may sound like a minor issue to you, but chocolate is very delicate. You have to be careful. If this was over heat that was even simmering, you might be in trouble. You might actually burn the chocolate. Now, one thing you want to be careful of when you do take your chocolate off of the water is look at all this condensation on the bottom. You don't want that to get in the way. You don't want that to get into the chocolate while you're doing stuff, so be sure to dry it off with a clean, dry towel as soon as you remove it from that steaming bowl.
You don't need a mixer of any kind. You just need to stir it, stir it, stir it. The mixture is dry, it's crumbly, and I don't have all the sugar quite mixed in there, and that's okay. I will add 2 teaspoons of light Karo. Okay, now I have 2 eggs. Oh, this is just gorgeous. Okay, this looks almost like chocolate icing. It's so smooth and chocolatey looking.
Shiny, velvety.
And very shiny. So now we add our cup of flour.
With the 1/4 teaspoon of salt already added to it.
When you use the scoop, it's not going to come out like those perfect little balls that the yo-yos and the almond cookies do. It's going to it's going to be all over the place, but that's all right. That's perfectly okay. If you've been baking cookies at 350 degrees for the afternoon, remember to turn the oven down to 300. Now, my husband, who is a real honest-to-God chocolate nut, has a he's laughing. Has a variation on this cookie that he begs me to do all the time, and if I incorporate pellets of bitter chocolate liquor, no sugar, and it does make a spectacular cookie if you're a chocoholic.